friends, welcome to Friday, April 3rd. You remember Jackson.
Hello.
He and I are going to start this awesome activity and then we're going to talk while it works its magic.
Awesome.
So Jackson, start doing what we need to do.
Okay. No time for patterns, Mom.
I know.
Come on, Mrs. Zsigray, we're losing time.
Get it in a circle.
Come on,
Why are
Mrs.
yours
Zsigray.
in the middle?
Those aren't mine. You dropped those there.
All right. You have to have enough M&Ms in here. They all have to be touching.
Darn.
I feel like this is like a minute to win it challenge.
It's not.
Let's do a green one, and then an orange one. Yellow. Okay, are they all
If this doesn't work, it's gonna be funny.
We've tried this, and it's awesome.
It does work.
It just takes a minute, which is why we're doing this part first. Okay. All right. So now
you're gonna water, water in our spouted glass.
Yes.
That was a moment a little bit ago.
And you're gonna pour some in the middle of it. Not too much, though.
Not too much, or it will move the M&Ms, which would be bad.
Come on, gotta get all the way to the edge. Doing that's enough.
No, let's do a little bit over here.
Doing a little bit over there.
Okay.
Good.
Now I'm going to talk while make sure you can still see this, please, Dylan. All right. So I found this online. Today is Find a Rainbow Day. All right. So get a white plate if you have one, if not something light colored. And it has to be flat. All right. You can see stuff's happening already. Can you get closer?
Okay.
It has to be flat. Otherwise, the colors can't go towards the middle. How come these aren't working here?
I don't know.
Do they need more water, maybe? Let's see. Okay, so while that keeps working, this is supposed to be hung from our classroom ceiling right now. We were going to take the snowflakes down and make these. It makes my heart sad that we don't have them because I have everything here for you guys to make them all. But maybe a miracle will happen and we'll still be able to, but I'm guessing we have to save them for next year. So, oh well, but they were a fun craft. All right, for some reason this side is not cooperating, but you'll see how it does a whole pattern with the water.
Ooh.
It is ooh.
Very
Isn't it so cool?
Yeah.
So find a rainbow. So you need a plate, water,
M&Ms.
I wonder if Skittles would work.
A spouted.
Yeah, no normal cup.
No normal.
No normal cup.
The pushback that I get on getting my special thing with the spout on it. All right, so that's our activity. Okay, stay tuned for the book. All right, welcome back. We're starting chapter 4 today, which is so long, we're going to break it into 3 parts. You'll remember the end of chapter 3. Stanley was stuck in a tree, and Arthur was crabby and jealous. All right, chapter 4, The Museum Thieves. Mr. and Mrs. O.J. Dart lived in the apartment above the lamb chops. Mr. Dart was an important man, the director of the famous Museum of Art downtown in the city. Stanley Lambchop had noticed in the elevator that Mr. Dart, who was ordinarily a cheerful man, had become quite gloomy, but he had no idea what the reason was. All right, there's a picture of Mr. Dart and Stanley in the elevator.
He does look a little gloomy.
He does look gloomy. And then at breakfast one morning, he heard Mr. and Mrs. Lambchop talking about Mr. Dart. I see, said Mr. Lambchop, reading the paper over his coffee cup, that still another painting has been stolen from the famous museum. It says here that Mr. O.J. Dart, the director, is at his wit's end. Oh dear, are the police no help? Mrs. Lambchop asked. It seems not, said Mr. Lambchop. Listen to what the chief of police told the newspaper. We suspect a gang of sneak thieves. These are the worst kind. They work by sneakery, which makes them very difficult to catch. All right, there's the headline, another painting stolen. However, my men and I will keep trying. Meanwhile, I hope people will buy tickets for the policeman's ball and not park their cars where signs say don't. Kind of random. The next morning, Stanley Lambchop heard Mr. Dart talking to his wife in the elevator. "These sneak thieves work at night," Mr. Dart said. "It is very hard for our guards to stay awake when they have been on duty all day. And the famous museum is so big we cannot guard every picture at the same time. I fear it is hopeless, hopeless, hopeless." Suddenly, as if an electric light bulb had lit up in the air above his head, giving out little shooting lines of excitement, Stanley Lambchop had an idea. All right. He's got an idea.
He does have an idea.
He told it to Mr. Dart. "Stanley," Mr. Dart said, "if your mother will give her permission, I will put you and your plan to work this very night." Mrs. Lambchop gave her permission. "But you will have to take a long nap this afternoon," she said. "I won't have you up till all hours unless you do." That evening, after a long nap, Stanley went with Mr. Dart to the famous museum. Mr. Dart took him into the main hall where the biggest and most important paintings were hung. He pointed to a huge painting that showed a bearded man wearing a floppy velvet hat playing a violin for a lady who lay on a couch. There was a half-man, half-horse person standing behind them, and 3 fat children with wings were flying around above. That, Mr. Dart explained, was the most expensive painting in the world.
In the whole
In the
world. Wow.
And that's where we're going to stop for today. All right. See you tomorrow.